Let's talk about the controversial switch hit. It is a shot which some batsmen have used mercilessly against the bowlers in the shorter format of the game. Yes, it is a shot which has been approved by the ICC. There's no problem with that. But now the cricketing fraternity is increasingly getting divided between the batsmen and the bowlers. And the topic of discussion is the switch hit a legal mechanism or not? And secondly, which is the most important point I feel, is the switch hit another nail in the coffin of the poor, hapless bowlers who are getting murdered in the shorter format? I'll take you through some important pointers. So the first thing is that it was none other than the flamboyant, magnificent, probably one of the finest contemporary batsmen in modern cricket in my book, and I'm sure in a lot of other books. The man who used it was Kevin Peterson. So he used the switch hit with absolute impunity. It was beautiful to watch him play. And we all know what he did to the bowlers. So the story began there. Then David Warner, Glenn Maxwell, the Aussies adopted this. Glenn Maxwell should be one of the finest proponents currently of the switch hit. And the way he hits bowlers for sixes and fours is tremendous to watch. But that is where the story begins. And where has the controversy come in? I'll talk about that now. That it needed a former Aussie great, one of the greatest batsmen, one of the former greatest captains in international cricket, Ian Chappell, who spoke about why he is opposed to the switch hit. Now, Chappell says he's repeatedly made it clear that he is not a fan of the innovative shot. And speaking on the wide world of sports, Chappell said that he would prefer to see a contest rather than batting exhibitions, even though he termed switch hitting as skillful. He also called it illegal and unfair for the bowlers. Now, Ian Chappell is typically what we say, ye khadus aadmi hai. So Ian Chappell is that, and he makes points in his own gruff manner. And the cricketing world takes notice. It also evokes a lot of other reactions. Now, Glenn Maxwell responded by saying that it is within the laws of the game, and this is his quote, batting has evolved in such a way that it has got better and better over the years, which is why we see these massive scores are getting chased down and the scores are going up. And this was in response to Chappell's comments. He also, Glenn Maxwell goes on to say that, and I suppose it is up to the bowlers to try and combat that. I suppose the skills of bowlers have been tested every day, with bowlers having to come up with different change-ups, different ways to stop batters. He then goes on to talk about the innovation which the bowlers have done, like the knuckleball, the wideish yorkers for which different fields are set. So he is saying and implying that while the bowlers are innovating, why can't the batsmen do that? And by the way, the ICC termed the switch hit to be a legitimate shot way back in 2012. So it has been 8 years now. It's only now that this discussion has come up. Harsha Bhogle, our Indian cricket commentator and expert, he made a very interesting point. It was a bit of a sarcastic point on Twitter, and I saw his tweet where he says, can the day be far off when a bowler comes in, right hand over, and then suddenly at the last minute switches to the left hand? Now, is that a valid delivery or not? So what is right for the batsman in a switch hit should also be right for the bowler. Now, it's an interesting point, and he went on to say that he has not been a fan of the stance-changing shot for a long time. According to him, the shot is unfair for bowlers as they set fields for a right-handed batsman who later becomes a left-hander, and we've seen that happening. The great Shane Warne, a bowler we admire, we love. Now, he says, as a bowler, we have to nominate what hand we are bowling with. So basically, if you're a right-hand bowler, you have to tell the umpire right hand over or right hand around the wicket. So you move in. And then he says, I'm setting a field to a right-handed batsman. So now when they switch it, I'm actually bowling to a left-hand batsman. I'm not sure I like it. It's worth a discussion, worth a debate to work out what's the right thing. Maybe the bowler can run up behind the umpire and bowl over or around. Shane Warne says, and he has always been a big proponent of change, of innovations. and his mind is one of the sharpest I've seen among a lot of other people. And he makes these very telling points. Now suddenly, if you have a bowler coming behind the umpire, and the freedom is given to him that can you go over or around, it creates a different scenario. Is it going to be that easy? I don't think so. Simon Toffel, that former international umpire considered one of the finest in the game, makes a couple of quick points. And the line that I really like is he says that the game of cricket is not a science, it's an art. We are not perfect. He was part of the elite panel of umpires and one of the best in the game. And then he goes on to say, when we say that we want to ban that type of shot, how does the umpire officiate that? It's impossible. The umpire has an enormous number of decisions, front foot, back foot, protected areas, seeing where a ball is hit. It's impossible to have an official then watch for the changing of the grip or stance. It's an impossible ask for a standing umpire to make that determination. But please remember that the third umpire has taken over where the no ball is concerned, with the beeper coming into play, etc., etc. So even in this, possibly the third umpire can come into play. So Simon Toffel may have made this comment at a time where this innovation hadn't been introduced. So again, it is a point worth thinking about. Now, a couple of points I want to make, which is, I feel that the switch hit needs to be evaluated properly. It is an innovation. It is a valid shot according to the ICC, but it does give a very unfair advantage to the batsman. The game is already loaded against the bowler. We know that. The slam bang form of cricket has already decimated large parts of the pure game. So there is a big lament among cricket lovers that Test cricket should be saved. Why? Because it still brings in those perfect, pure, beautiful shots which used to be part of this great game. But slowly, we are seeing that completely being decimated. The shorter formats, as we know, it encourages big hitting, as it is a carnival atmosphere. It reminds me of the Roman gladiators who used to, if you remember, not only fight for their lives, they would take on animals, they would take on other fellow gladiators. And in this kind of bloody arena, if you transpose that into a cricketing field, you see that how things have changed against the bowlers. There are fielding restrictions, there are bouncer restrictions, and now the switch hit also comes into play. And what does the crowd want? The crowd wants to see these massive big shots over after over. They want to see sixes and fours, and they are baying for someone's blood. I leave you with this soundbite from former India pacer Atul Vasan. He makes a lot of sense, and he does come up with a very interesting point, which is a sort of point that goes against what Harsha Bhogle is saying. He says that if a person is a right-hand bowler, and even if you allow use of the other hand, can the left hand be used as effectively as the right for a bowler while bowling or while executing an action? According to him, it may not be that easy. It is a very difficult proposition. So I leave you with that thought, and that's where currently the switch hit stands.
I don't think so. This is silly because it's an innovation है और अगर देखिए अब आप राइट हैंडर हो, सब प्लेयर नहीं मार सकते. अब मैक्सवेल मार रहा है तो छक्का भी मार रहा है, तो वो एम्बीडेक्स्ट्रस है. मोस्ट ऑफ द प्लेयर्स, अगर मैं राइट से थ्रो करता हूँ तो मैं राइट से ही फेंक सकता हूँ, लेफ्ट से नहीं फेंक सकता हूँ. तो ये आसान नहीं है स्विच हिट मारना कि आपने कर दिया जी बैन कर दो. तो मुझे लगता है ये इनोवेशन है गेम की और गेंदबाजों को इसके पार पाना होगा. और आई थिंक वी शुड applaud this kind of innovation and this kind of progression in the game.